All right, how about the cloud cover here? Well, here's the latest highest res model. There's the path of the eclipse. Texas still looks like it's pretty cloudy through a majority of that, but spots like Carbondale, where Larry will be live, and Indianapolis, where it looks like I'll be live, are looking okay. Still a bit of a coin flip in terms of cloud cover right at eclipse time, but then those clouds start to thicken up as we start heading back into western New York and northern New York too. So something all eyes are on. This is the best case scenario. Some of the weather models, though, are trending more towards cloud cover, so we'll have to dig into those details as we get right up to the event. Karen, everybody's super excited.
We are definitely
like
looking
eclipse
forward to it.
Fury around everywhere. That's all everybody's talking about.
This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. There's two things that are coming in mind when I'm thinking about some of the stories that are out there in regards to the eclipse. And it has to do with this strange thing called graphene oxide that I've heard a lot about, which is an oxidized form of graphene. You may have heard of graphene. It's like this miracle material, mineral that's out there. So I thought it was really interesting because graphene oxide, if you don't know, is magnetic. They say that it's not. They say that graphene on its own is magnetic, but graphene oxide isn't. But then again, they also tell you that men can have babies. So who's really supposed to trust the science at this point? But anyway, graphene oxide is really magnetic, believe it or not, and it responds to magnetism. Thus, when the eclipse is occurring, what we're going to see happening is we're going to see a lot of electrical conductivity in the ionosphere, okay, which will affect the Earth's electric and magnetic fields. Now, first, out of two things I want to discuss, the first thing is about a lot of stories in regards to clouds. Are we even going to see the eclipse? They're showing North America completely covered in clouds. And what's interesting about that is that patent US 202-2000215 9A1, okay, is a patent for graphene oxide to be found in cloud seeding. And if you're not familiar with cloud seeding is all that haze that you see up in the skies pretty much every single day when it's a blue sky day, and suddenly your sky is gray, right? Like the mamas and the papas say, but your sky isn't gray because it's a California day. Your sky is gray because you're getting sprayed with a lot of different chemicals, including graphene oxide. So it's interesting to note that the skies are exceptionally going to be gray with clouds that aren't real clouds during the eclipse because graphene oxide and nanoparticles falling down from the sky during a solar eclipse may cause some problems for quite a few people. So in other words, when you're dumping metals on people and there's heavy metal damage on people, of course, people will get sick because of the way that the Earth is responding to the magnetic field change while people are getting doused in this. Now, there's another thing we can look at. The cloud seeding is just the first aspect, right? Because we know that this is getting dumped on us on a day in and day out basis. And it's becoming very, very hard to detox from this type of soft metal damage that they're doing to all of us. But there's also people, believe it or not, there's also some people that may have, I gotta be careful, they may have like graphene oxide in them. Now, I don't know how that could have happened. I don't know what they could have done to willingly be a participant in a science experiment, but little do they know, a lot of people already are. So, another story that's out there is very interesting about what NASA's doing, right? We all talked about NASA. I talked about it specifically at length about NASA firing the rockets, the missiles at the eclipse, the serpent deity, of course, that they're naming this thing after, the Egyptian god Apophis or Apep. That's what they're calling this, NASA's Apep project, okay, which is an ancient Egyptian deity who embodied darkness and disorder, which is really, we're talking about chaos and disorder. So on top of them launching APEP, NASA is also out there talking about trying to explain what they're trying to do because people out there are going, hey, what is NASA trying to do? I don't really understand what this stuff is. Well, NASA's come out and told us that the solar eclipse and what they're trying to study, if you want to talk about coincidences, will reveal a stunning corona, scientists predict. And NASA wants to study that corona. A lot of words there that make your brain go, Let's listen to a news clip and keep in mind what they're saying to you in regards to data. Because when they talk about data and studying data, they're talking about you. You're the data.
While millions of Americans across the country will be enjoying the view and taking in the solar eclipse on April 8th, scientists across the country will be collecting data.
NASA is also studying how the Earth's atmosphere responds to this decrease in sunlight and how the electrified part of the atmosphere, the ionosphere, how that responds to this decrease in sunlight.
That's Dr. Nicolene Weil, a scientist for NASA's Mission Punch.
Punch is the polarimeter to unify the corona and heliosphere.
The heliosphere is the sun's area of influence. The corona is the sun's outermost part of its atmosphere.
The corona is that part of the outer atmosphere of the sun that we get to see during totality, but eclipses are pretty rare. And so NASA wants to study the corona all the time. And so we make artificial eclipses. And so Punch is going to be one of the latest, greatest, high resolution, sort of looking at the corona in high definition all the time, making these artificial eclipses.
But they won't have to make an artificial eclipse on Monday. And the eclipse is something we all can enjoy, even if the first coast isn't under totality.
Air will get colder. You will feel the fact that it's getting colder because the moon is blocking a lot of the sunlight. I think in Jacksonville, you guys are at 60% coverage. And it will get darker, even though it's not as dark as a total solar eclipse. It will still get darker. You'll feel it. You'll see the shadows change. It'll still be pretty cool.
The moon will be taking a bite out of the sun, and we're all ready to experience it.
So in addition to that, right, one might wonder, okay, well, it's a little bit weird, right? We've got obviously massive clouds. We've got the correlation between NASA and them studying corona, right? Predicting what the sun will look like during a total eclipse is a helpful exercise for scientists in the long quest to understand how our star works. And NASA even posted over on their website saying that scientists are using NASA data to predict solar corona before eclipse. It's very interesting, by the way, because that word corona, it reminds me of something, I guess a beer, where a lot of people actually got something that could potentially have made them magnified. And well, let me show you just a little clip about what could happen if that is inside of your body.
Imagine a magnetic wand that could control your brain. To find out if such a thing could actually work, I offered my own brain for a test. It seemed like fun at the time.
Hold it up, you can look at it.
Psychiatrist and neurologist Mark George said he could make my thumb twitch.
Jeez, it does.
Oh, that was nice. Using a map of the brain, he can zap the area that controls a specific body part, like my toe.
Oh, wow. Is that last stroke a little too much?
A little bit, yeah, it was a little much.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The wand can even affect someone's speech.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
And once the pulse is removed,
25, 26.
Everything goes back to normal.
29, 30.
It's sort of a remarkable thing that one can put something over somebody's head and modify the way they behave.
Wow. The wand works by producing a powerful magnetic pulse.
So it doesn't look like a lot, but the magnetic field that it generates is about the strength of an MRI machine, of a very strong MRI machine.
Since electricity and magnetism are really just two forms of the same thing, a magnet can affect the electrical signals in your brain. Now this is your brain. It's basically an electric web of billions of neurons wired together. When a strong magnetic pulse hits these neurons, it alters their electric current. The process is called transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS.
Electricity is the currency of the brain. All thoughts, all beliefs, all actions are just electrical impulses. And so TMS, we're actually able to get in there and influence the currency of the brain focally and non-invasively.
The stronger the magnetic pulse, the deeper into the brain it goes. And by adjusting the pattern of the pulse, you can change the way that part of the brain functions.
We can turn a part of the brain up or down or temporarily turn it off.
Now that doesn't look very fun, does it? I mean, this is just a game of connect the dots that I'm doing here. I'm talking about the Earth's magnetic field during an actual eclipse, right? Because we've talked about some of the things that we've heard over the last couple of years with like cell phones going off and emergency alerts and what that could do to people that are magnified, right? I mean, their phones that are magnified, not them, because that's not humanly possible, wink, wink. At least not yet, because they don't want to tell you it's possible yet, because they don't want you to know that you're a part of a mass experiment. So we've talked about some of these dates and how there was potential for pulse signals to be sent at people. I wonder what could potentially occur while the magnetic field and all of this electrical conductivity is occurring at the same time that a lot of people are going to be lining up for this thing. And mainly it's probably going to be a lot of people that put, a face diaper over their face who are going to be lining up in totality with this entire thing. It's just food for thought, folks. I'm just throwing it out there and trying to be really careful with my words, because words hurt people these days. But you know what hurts them more? Truth. Truth seems to hurt them a lot more. So this graphene oxide is very interesting to see how it could, the conductivity of the electrical fields could work while it's not just potentially in people. Let's step away from that theory that really bothers people, because people don't want to believe that to be true. But we can look at the other theory, which isn't a theory, because we know it's patent, we know it's approved, and we know what's going on because we're seeing it in our food. We're seeing it on the hoods of cars. I know a YouTuber who's covered it for years now. People were finding this graphene oxide, this nanotechnology, falling from the sky, covering our crops, covering our skin, covering pretty much everything that's in the trail of that quote-unquote contrail. So I'm very interested to see the data as well of what occurs during this event, because they are telling us that it's just going to be a cloud covering. But when I hear cloud covering, I think of chemical covering. I think of aluminum, I think of barium, I think of graphene oxide. Then I think of a lot of people who are going to be standing out there while this is going on. And again, some people believe it's a simulated sun, a simulated eclipse actually, that they're actually creating this, which everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I mean, who is trusting in anything that they're telling us is going on? I know that I'm not. Okay, I don't trust a word that comes out of their mouths. I'm not going to listen to any of the science they try to spin. But what I am going to look at is the underlying narratives, right? And one of the narratives, again, that's getting repeated over and over and over again is about the cloud coverage for the eclipse. Everybody's going, oh man, there's cloud coverage. The eclipse is going to be hidden behind clouds, but they're still going to show up and they're still going to be in the path. So one has to wonder how those electric and magnetic fields will respond. And again, there's also this other thing that's lingering in place. If people start to get sick while they're actually out there and around staring at the eclipse, there's also this avian thing floating around, which I've been covering on the website. I'll cover over here. There's this avian bird flu floating around that would be a nice, easy scapegoat if anything does occur to many people out there who might have taken something or may not have taken something, but definitely we're all getting covered with it. So keep an eye on these stories, folks. I had to cover it because I'm seeing stories about cloud coverage, and I know about those patents with graphene oxide. I know what it does. I know what graphene oxide does, and I feel for anybody that's going to be in the path of potentially being, electrified. Let's put it that way, right? But again, what do I know, right? This is just my channel. I'm just throwing ideas out there for anybody that's thinking. I know it's very offensive to a lot of people to actually think and to think of possibilities of what could be actually happening to all of us. I know a lot of people don't want to think that way because they can't face what's actually happening. But I know it's very offensive to people to actually critically think instead of believing everything we're told. But that's what I try to do on my channel. So I'm seeing a lot of stories about a lot of clouds. And I'm also wondering in the back of my mind, being that during a solar eclipse, there's massive changes in the ionosphere's electrical conductivity that something could maybe happen to a lot of people. I remember someone having a Travis Scott concert. A lot of people out there were getting hit with a lot of frequencies and pulses, and didn't turn out too good for them. So Godspeed to everybody out there. Prayers for anybody who is in the direct line of fire. I don't say that jokingly, but who knows what's going on anymore in this world with this stuff that just continues to come out. The stories surrounding these things, you could see them gaslighting people all over the map. And you could also see their repetition and their pattern with these stories telling you how they want you to think. What a crazy time to be alive. I thank you for being here, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.